Okay, welcome back to Thrive in the Future. This evening, I have Grant Payne and Matt Derosier with me, and we're talking about how the spring is going so far. And so I was just saying that this weekend I'm going to Midwest Prepper Fest here in Northeast Kansas, and Two Man Tim and Nicole Sauce should be there.
No way, really? That's awesome.
Way.
Are you way? You got plans to? I mean, you've interviewed both of those guys, Nicole and Tool Man Tim. So, do you have plans to like meet up or do anything, or just what if you run into them, you run into them?
Yeah, I don't have concrete plans, but when I talked with Tim the last time, um, he said uh, he said he'd meet up with me over there. So,
Hey, that'd
I
be
mean,
cool.
when you reach out to him, he's busy and he takes like 2 weeks to respond to your email or something. So yeah.
Oh, I never email him. I just message him on Telegram.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
You
idea.
talking about Tool Man Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
sent him a picture the other day of this car I was behind. You know how like a Rav4 type has like the tire on the back of the car.
Yeah.
Well, it was very visibly shredded. And so I'm like, how's this for preparedness? Like your shredded tire or your spare tire is completely shredded. It's like, and you can't say that you didn't know, right? Because it's not like under the body or in like the trunk. It's you'd have to walk around it getting groceries or whatever. And so like, I thought it was funny, so I sent that to him.
And somebody shred it with a knife or something, or it
No,
just
it just looked like it just got worn out from just like sitting. I don't know. I don't know what they did.
yeah. Well, someday I'm gonna fix it. So yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, that would be cool. You should tell us how it goes.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the recorder and see if I can meet up with some folks over there. So um Mike, the the comms guy that has been on the show a couple times. He's over there too doing a class. So that'll be cool.
Nice. I just fixed my microphone. It was the wrong input.
Yeah, no, it was like you were in the background or something.
Oh shoot. Yeah, I was probably picking it up from my
That's
stupid.
okay. It wasn't noticeable.
is mine
So
okay?
yeah, yours is fine.
Yeah,
You sound good, and you look good.
thank you.
So guys, how's spring going so far? What big projects have you been doing?
I'll let Grant
I
go.
I think the biggest project I've been doing right now is the wedding. So we've been working on the farm, getting it ready since October when we didn't even know we were going to buy it yet, when we would be approved. So that all went through, 2 days after Christmas, and we signed the paperwork before, it's the last week of the year. And so we just kind of switched everything. I don't know when exactly we decided. I think it was November when we decided when we were going to have the wedding. So we got engaged in November, last November. Wedding is this May. So
Mhm.
we are 9 days away. And so we've pretty much been putting everything into wedding prep, making sure we have just everything good to go. We didn't, it's still, gonna be costly, but considering it's a wedding, under $10,000 is good to have, very close people. We're doing it for the dress, the walk, the dance, just those core memories, those pictures that,
Mm-hmm.
doing it at the courthouse was like our go-tos. Like, that's super easy. Let's just do that. But wait a minute, let's get these memories. Let's have the dress. Let's walk down the aisle. Let's have our dance. For Destiny, it's like, the dance with her grandfather, all that stuff are things that I want just as much as she wants. I would like the memories because, I don't have I'm not gonna have any new memories with my grandparents.
Yeah.
So just those. But we've been doing a lot. We've been taking down trees still. We got the greenhouses up. So we've got the frames laid out for our three greenhouses. And then we've been uh doing the hostas. So the hostas are really one that and all the other plants we've gotten have been the big time consumer. Been hatching out dozens of baby birds. I think we've got 40 baby ducks and another 40 baby chicks we've hatched out this year.
So what are you
We're
gonna do with all
running.
those?
Well, honestly, we're just doing this. So I got these eggs. he got a mixed batch from Murray Hatchery, and he has some very beautiful chickens. So he's like, you know what? Can I have 8 dozen of your eggs and I'll hatch them out? And so we had a really good success rate that first go around. I think it was actually like 5 dozen because we had an 80% hatch rate of like 33 birds. And we're gonna, because all my flock got decimated by an owl that got inside the chicken coop last year because a piece of tin blew off the roof and devastated all my young chicks. It killed 12 in one night. So we're gonna get, and we've just been hatching out a lot of mine that I have left over. I've got genetics from the first chicken I got back in October when I first got chickens again in 2019. When you start getting into home breeding animals, you can really start to see genetics and faces from the roosters and your hens. Like I've got a trait of like deep, solid yellow legs running through my chickens, and I know because I got 2 dozen chickens to start with. They were old, burnout, golden comets that are 2 years old. They were about dead, completely anemic, fixing to die. Got them for $7 a piece, and then raised them back to health. And sometimes they were laying 2-3 eggs a day because I'd go out there every morning and I was
2-3 eggs a day.
I was getting 3-4 dozen eggs a day from 24 birds.
Oh, okay.
So
I was like, what are you pumping?
No,
those chickens.
I don't know. I was feeding them regular feed.
One
They were
chicken does 2 to 3 eggs a day.
They were. It was absolutely crazy.
Well, some of those, like those Sussex or whatever, can lay 2 eggs a day.
Can they really?
They
I didn't know
they'll
that.
burn out. They'll burn out in
and
right, because it's how many ovum they have, right? It's
they're born with the amount of eggs they'll have. So I started breeding with those, and then I still have a little bit of the genetics left. I've lost a lot of chickens just from predators, to be honest, because I like to let them free range, and that goes great for a couple weeks, and then they get in your garden and they start getting eaten by a neighbor's dog that comes over here. And so I don't think I'll have a free range bird again. That's why I'm going really heavily into chicken tractors, because after the wedding, we're going to be going into hopefully turkey and chicken production. I need to talk to Long Story about going into and doing turkey production. I don't know if it's too late for Thanksgiving or not. But other than that,
how long does it take
smaller, right?
How long does it take to get a turkey up to weight?
I think it could be like 16 weeks.
I think you're probably right. Yeah.
But yeah, I procrastinated on my garden. I haven't had a garden in like 2 years, and I can't tell you how good it feels to be back where I started, to be honest. And that's what really sparked the thread on Twitter today, or not even a thread. It's just a bunch of reposts.
Yeah, the IBC King is back.
Yeah, I know. It's like, the thing is I'm gonna lean into it because we're fixing to make 8 chicken tractors out of IBC totes. Instead of spending $400 on cattle panels and wood, we're gonna split two IBC totes. 3 IBC totes will make 2 chicken tractors, and so we're gonna make 8 of them, and then I'll still have so many I don't even know what to do with. I'm gonna turn about 60 of them into a greenhouse. So I'm going to fill them up with raised beds on the outside, put cattle panels over the top, and then put greenhouse plastic over the cattle panels. And then I'll have a greenhouse frame inside, where I'll have the ground open so I can till it or do no-till, cover crop it on the inside of the plastic, but then also still grow crops on the outside of the plastic inside the raised beds. So
cool.
By the way, Grant, 16 weeks from now, August 29th. You got time.
Okay. All right. So,
but you don't have them hatched yet, right?
I'm not going to hatch them. I'm just going to buy them. So, and I don't even know if they're back ordered. I really haven't put terribly too much energy into it for the sole fact of, we're waiting till the wedding is done before we kind of start taking on any huge projects.
Yeah. Well, if you get some, newly hatched turkey chicks, then by the time you get to them, it'll be about right?
Yeah. And so
where you guys gonna have your honeymoon? West Palm Beach, Florida?
No, we were actually given a week's stay at a very good friend of my father's beach house in not Cave Spring, coast of the Gulf of Alabama. Well, I don't know what that's called. Gulf Shores.
Wow.
Nice.
That's
So
great.
they told us we could stay for a week. I'm gonna take 8 days off of work, and that gives me 12 days consecutive off from work, which
Hell yeah.
it's work. It still drains you, but it's not terrible. It's not hard work. It's not long work. You know, it it's just city work. I don't really know
I
how else to put
understand.
it. It's
It's
I
still
not
understand.
mentally draining.
it's not hard work, it's city work.
All right.
I mean,
After the wedding, everybody set their watch 10 months from now for
Oh yeah, I was about to say that, but I was like, I
okay.
don't want to offend
I'm
anyone.
gonna be honest. I ain't making no promises. I want a kid. That won't hurt me at all. But will probably not please my parents at all. Anytime it gets mentioned, they'll both be like, Wait a couple years," you know. So only thing a child will do is make me grind harder, and I'm already in it enough.
I
It's
can't imagine what that looks like.
yeah.
I
Grant
just I
going.
cannot. Like,
Me, yeah.
is there
This
a
is
like is that dial go to 12? I don't know.
the thing is that I will turn to 12 because if I'm already going at the rate I'm going now, which I'm already being encouraged to slow down and to stop getting so many totes. I've got to pick four more up. I've already got to pick four more up tomorrow morning.
Sorry, I was thinking about like Totes Anonymous or something like that, where it's
Oh
like,
God,
my name's
that's
Grant, I'm addicted
hilarious.
to totes.
But see, the thing is, I am because it's a free resource that I can turn into so many different
Hi,
things.
Grant.
And we're
Um,
still we're still in awe of that because totes around here back in 2020 cost $110 and
yeah,
they weren't that great and they didn't
no,
have, like they didn't have the outlets and stuff on them. So
Sure.
it's like,
Yeah, the bulkheads, yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
I cut up a bunch of them. But see, I'm at the point now. So I have maximized my waste for these pallets. So the frames, I cut up totes for waters at the farm. I've cut 275-gallon totes in half. So the cows and goats have four waterers, just so it's just four reservoirs of water. So when we go, I check on them once a week.
so like troughs or what?
They're basically water troughs, but
Yeah.
when I cut them in half, I get a garden bed out of one half, a trough out of the other half, and then we have this pallet we don't know what to do with. And eventually, we're going to get enough pallets and turn those pallets into makeshift tables for the greenhouse, so there'll be level
Mm,
drainage that you can sterilize.
Yep. Yep.
nice.
Yeah, you saw that article from Shooter on how he uses totes for aquaponics, right?
Yeah, I did. That's one thing I want to get into. I still believe that things should grow in dirt.
Yeah.
Um, but when it comes to it, if you can have a self-sufficient aquaponic system with crawfish or brim, go for it.
Yep.
Sure.
If we get to the point we're all prepping for, it doesn't matter where your food comes from. You need calories. And
Yep.
Guy Alaska today, like put on this week, a family of four needs 3 million calories. He has to harvest 52 million calories in Alaska every single year.
Hmm.
He's
And
on it
that
too, I'm telling you.
and it's really insane when you start to break it down like that.
Matt, have you had him on your podcast?
Oh yeah. Guy was probably number like 12 or 15
No, you're
on
gonna
my
have to give
podcast.
me
Yeah.
his contact info because he's got his DMs turned off.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He says such crazy stuff. I feel like he has to.
Well, he
Yeah,
did
that's true.
ever since he had that picture of his Native American wife doing the laundry in the
Oh,
creek.
yeah,
Then ever since then, he's had haters.
Yeah, that was
yeah.
funny. That was because you could tell as like he was writing it from like a stance of like appreciation. Like,
Yeah.
look at this woman, look at how hard she works for her
Hmm.
family. This is great. And people just were like, hey, what kind of man lets his wife blah 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 and buy her a wash machine and blah blah, like
And
all
then his
this
wife
stuff.
got involved and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
she
Yeah.
started like making him she started turning race against him. It was funny.
But
It was good. It was good.
It
the
was
thing
funny.
is though, is like he is going for a completely different way of life that any of us live.
Right.
I've been watching his GoFundMe, of his yaks. I'm like, I'll be honest, he preaches, you know, donating from a community standpoint. And I'm like, I'm great. I wish I could be at that point. But, you know, I've dropped $400 on cover crop already this year. You know,
Yeah.
$600 on hay. And the hay input is, yeah, it's to feed the cows, but it's at the same point, it's to put back into the pasture. There are bare spots under trees. I've been cutting like dozens of cherry trees down every time I go up to the farm, because goats can eat cherry trees, cows can eat cherry trees as long as leaves are still green. So I cut the trees a specific way so when they fall, it splits the entire trunk of the tree when it falls, and it stays alive because it's connected to the root system. So they won't wither, they won't
Oh,
die, and
that's
they
funny
won't
you
get
mentioned that.
they
I
won't get cyanide poisoning.
just sent a couple of tweets about this. It's hedge laying is what they call it. It's not
Yep.
coppicing, it's not pollarding. It's they have they take like a C-section out of the tree,
Mm-hmm.
have it drop, still connected, like you're saying, Grant, and yeah.
Yeah, I follow a bunch of guys from Ireland and stuff who do that, and then
That's funny.
I'll have
I was
to.
follow some guys in the UK about that too.
yeah, it's
Well,
the
the thing
cops.
is,
It's the cops worker, dude.
I
We probably
figured
follow the same guy.
I
Probably.
figured this out. Just, you know, how can I make sure these trees stay alive? Because I cleared about an acre last year because I didn't know we were moving, and I cleared a whole acre last year. I'm cutting trees down, feeding the goats, and we're going every day after work with the sawzall because I wouldn't even whip out the chainsaw. I was doing it with battery powered saw, knocking these trees down. The goats were going crazy. And now, but see, the thing is, when you leave them still attached, they'll eat on it, and then next year it'll regrow. So if you're running them through forest, if you depend on how you have this set up, it's like if you were to pollard or coppice a stump, which I'm pollarding the cherry tree stumps like about waist high because they're gonna put back out and so they're gonna explode.
Yeah.
But if I was to leave them attached, you know, like I have some hickories that I cut down, they're putting back out now, and they're still laying sideways on the ground.
Nice.
But
That's awesome.
that gets in the way of grass. I mean, there's no reason, in my opinion, to leave it down. Composite, and it'll just keep putting out until eventually the root system dies out, which it's done its job. It's brought minerals from deeper in the surface up to the top of the surface and bringing more biomass and just more things for the animals to eat, for more manure, yada yada.
I want to do that on the downhill side of my property. Like I live on a hill, so like it slopes down and then like it really drops off going into an irrigation ditch. But I don't own that. I don't own that slope. So I'd have to get in contact with, I think it's my neighbor that owns that part, or like the irrigation district. I don't really know, but I got to figure that out because
Hey, water makes you the owner. All they got to do is just if it runs down, then it's okay.
Yeah, I wish people get shot over water here. That's
Yeah.
the first when Montana became a state. That was the first recorded state death was over water rights. So we take it seriously.
And that's one thing with us. We have a branch that runs through the property, and I think, you know what, we will be completely screwed. That's what I'm going to turn the totes into water silos, like water towers, with an automatic collection system, like a funnel on top of them. But if someone were to come through and dam up the creek or the branch all the way up, you know, you're gonna have to fight to clear that dam out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You're just not gonna have any water.
You could get a ram pump.
Yeah.
He's talking about upstream on somebody else's land.
Right, but upstream. I mean, instead of like trying to funnel something from the top, you could.
But the good thing is there is a spring that feeds it on the back side of my grandmother's property, so it gets fed from our property. So we will have some source of water.
That's good.
So but at the same time, it's in wetlands. Technically, it's got. I don't know if it's wetlands or flood zone, whichever. But I want to do some makeshift ponds. And even if it's not a pond, even if it's just like technically like a swale or whatever, my grandmother's like, "Why would you do that? That's so stupid. What's it? But my dad tried to put a pond here and it never worked." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." but it's great trying to bring in the older generations into this new old style of lifestyle, because you're not trying to put every seed in the ground just so you can get by. Because when I talk about how I'm gonna manage the land and manage the animals for the land, she's like, my daddy raised cows on here and blah 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 blah. I'm like, I understand that, but you had to do it this way because you had to make it or you didn't, you know. And we're trying to work backwards to have, like, to a more agrarian lifestyle, that you have a lower or smaller standard of living, like Guy Alaska does. He has an extremely small standard of living, and it's very hard to get that across sometimes to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's counterintuitive, and also it's against the grain.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt, what about you? What have you been doing this spring? What's the
Oh
big
man,
projects?
I've been playing catch up. I was stuck in Utah for 3 weeks for work, so when I came back, I really hit the ground running. Thankfully, we don't have our chickens. We got rid of those in January. Just like I'm up. I don't want these right now. Don't have time for them right now. So that was a good move. And so we've been implementing our design from William Horvath's permaculture apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with him and I got a design. And so we're putting all our garden beds in the backyard. Barely anything grows back there anyways, other than, weeds. Like when I got here, there was it was just rock and dirt, no topsoil. And now there's just a little bit of topsoil. I mean, not bad for 5 years later or however long it's been, but I'm
Shameless
tired of
plug.
fighting it.
Were those raised beds pressure treated wooden?
Mine?
Is it? Yeah.
No,
No.
they're just, it's like, they're old deck boards. So I'm sure they're just like
Okay.
pine or something
Are
like that. And
you
so I stained them.
going to try to seal them in with some sort of outdoor sealer to help prevent rot?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. It's so dry here that I'm not
True.
really worried about it.
True. Because,
Hmm.
if I was to build something like that, it'd rot out in 2-3 years. If I
Yeah.
was
Yeah, but you're a
The
lot more
bottom probably
well.
rot out, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
that's one thing I'm worried about with using totes as garden beds, is if they'll dry rot. That's one thing I'm kind of worried about, is them dry rotting over time. But eventually I'm going to frame them in with like cedar decking boards, which are like $2 a piece, extremely cheap. But one thing that I've noticed, you talk about your soil, uh, you're building topsoil. I love it. But I've noticed that there is almost zero life at the farm. There's nothing decomposing the cow pies. There is an insane amount of flies, which I've never really had to deal with cows and flies, so I'm gonna have to deal with that. But there's nothing is decomposing the cow pies. There's like no decomposers. There's a ton of predators. There are a ton of praying mantis, eggs everywhere. But when the grasses grown up high, like inside the only thing that's getting really tall in the back pasture is goldenrod, which, that's pretty high protein. So we're going to use that for the pastured poultry until it eventually dies. But there's just no active soil life to break
Are you
In
going to
down
your
have to chase
compost
the
pile,
cows?
or your compost pile, or in your pasture?
in the pasture.
Hmm.
I mean, we're going into almost the middle of May, and there's nothing breaking down these cow pies, which is it's good soil. It's got really good grass. I'm starting with an incredible foundation, but I feel like as soon as I start to manage it properly, it's going to explode, because the grass is already, we bush hogged it. It's knee high. It's got really good clumping fescue. We're gonna probably change that out into a different type of fescue over time. But I got all this cover crop to put in. of, chicory and plantains and treacle, all those things that will hopefully self-seed and are kind of perennial to build that topsoil. I got a clover mix with 4 different types of clover. And so that's one
You
thing.
just ordered 40,000 pounds of milpa or whatever.
No, they gave me 35 pounds of milpa for the first acre program. So I'm going to work with local churches. There's this farmer's market that I was invited to up north of me, and she has a Feed the Needy program. So she will come and I can donate it to her since she already has the roadways and pathways connected
Nice.
to get this produce to places. If not, I'll work with the local church food bank that I've spoken to the pastor about. I'm very tempted to ask for another second pound because I'd like to work with the local Boys and Girls Club for a pickup, and just kind of send it in all. And really, I really want to hit the community hard when I start doing something with the greenhouse. I want to get with the extension office and hold classes on how to plant tomato seeds and how to do things. I was thinking the other day teaching animal husbandry classes to children through the local 4-H and FFA programs, coming out, having rabbits, having chickens, having ducks, and pretty much teaching them the rundown of care and maintenance and everything like that. And in turn, that gives me more knowledge about the animals by putting in the time and research to teach it to someone else.
I was going to say, Grant, back to your cow with the flies problem. I mean, you're already planning on doing chicken tractors. You're just going to have to chase the cows with chicken tractors, break up them cow pies, right?
Yeah, and that's the goal. That's the idea. But right now they're on 1.5 acres. It's 2 cows and like 13 goats. The grass is still really great. They scream every time they see me because they're grain hungry. But the grass is growing at an incredible rate. Like there's still plenty of grass. I'm cutting trees down. I'm feeding them. They have hay. So I'm making sure they're fed. When they get moved to the rest of the like 8 acres, we're gonna put them on. I'm gonna worm everybody, and then I'm gonna sow everything they're in. That's where the cover crop's gonna be, and nothing is gonna go back on that acre till winter, because I want everything to grow and go to seed this year on that paddock. So I'm not really gonna be worried about it once the cover crop starts going in over it. That or I'll put the milpa crop there. I've got to have ideas where I'm going to put these things, but that is the goal, is to chase once we have I don't like temporary fencing, so we're just going to hard fence everything into the paddocks and then into like 6 paddocks and then have smaller fencing within those paddocks. So if they do bust through it, they're just in the other side.
How come you don't like hard fencing?
No, I do like hard fencing. I don't like temporary.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. How come you don't
did I
like
say that wrong?
No, I spoke.
Okay.
I spoke wrong.
There is a learning curve to it, but I really don't want to risk it because the position we're in right now is we're not up there all the time. We're not living there yet. We will be. We will be soon. But if I do temporary fencing, it will be a hard temporary fencing. Like I've got an idea to link together cattle panels and then shovel those cattle panels around, and do things like that. And because we run the goats and cows together, so they graze at different levels. And temporary fencing for goats, when you have high forage, is a little bit different than cows because cows need 1 strand of hot wire about chest high. And goats need like a lot more than that.
A solid wall of electricity.
Yeah. So it really comes down to the goats to see what they do. And I'm gonna have to learn a lot about grass. I don't know a lot about grass yet. So that's why I got cows. I really jumped the gun. I got 2 cows. They both cost about $600. And I could probably turn around and sell those cows now for about 15. They are incredible cows, beautiful cows, really good looking cows. For what we're looking to do is just go in South Pole. Teddy Gentry created the breed. It's a smaller bodied cow. So as you build your soil, as you build your pasture, they're smaller frame, so you get more meat per acre, and you can stock more cows per acre than if we were running Angus, because that breed has been selectively bred and designed to go to feedlots. And that's what it is. You can grain feed an Angus all day or grass feed an Angus all day. That's fine. But if you grass fed something that is meant to be grass fed, like Dexter's, other specifically raised on and finished on grass, it's genetics. It all comes down to genetics, and that is the breed we decided to go with for cows. But you can get a South Pole bull and cross it with almost anything. You can cross it with a Corriente, any type of cow, and it spits out basically a 90% South Pole every single time. It's the genetics are extremely strong and they're beautiful.
I want to see you mix it with a bison. That would be sweet.
Well, I would like bison. I bet it'd be easier for me to get emus before I get a bison.
Why do people get emus? Why I've
I want to
seen
eat
more
them.
emus this year than ever in my life.
Emu meat is a red meat. It's like a cow chicken. That's pretty much I'd say what it is. It's a red meat.
Have you ever
It's
had
cow
pigeon?
chicken.
That is a very red meat.
I wouldn't mind raising pigeons. Like I want an apiary with peacocks. I would like to start doing. There is a hunting club that requires pheasants, and if I can get into growing out, hunting size pheasants, that's another market.
Yeah, a lot of times you need like a game bird license to do that crap.
I don't know about here. I really don't.
Like,
but
yeah,
I had a guy come to me.
Don't know about that. Never heard about that in my life. That's weird.
There's apparently a duck shortage right now. And so a guy came to me, bought a couple of my ducks, and he's like, "Can you get me 30 more?"
Park?
Yeah,
I was just thinking that.
No wonder there's a duck shortage.
He needs about 30 more because the hatcheries are euthanizing all the birds because the duck flu or the avian
the duck flu.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, because the avian flu. And I'm like, are you? That's manufactured nonsense. I didn't say that. I'm like, now I'm thinking, okay, how do I get my hands on 30 mature ducks that I can sell for $15 a piece? Because that's a week's pay right there. So it's most likely not going to happen, but the avenues are there.
Yeah.
The opportunities are there, which
you're a city employee now. You should be able to go. They should obey you when you go to catch them over at the park.
Listen, don't say that, because I saw a mated pair of geese, and they're not Canadian geese. They're like brown, like a reddish brown white pair of mated geese at this local pond. And there are dozens of ducks, and they look like mallards. I don't know if they're mallards because I don't know if it's time for them to be back yet. I'm not a duck hunter, but yes, I would most definitely go out there with a net and catch some ducks.
Get a butterfly net or whatever, fishing net.
I'll wait till I have more seniority before I start going and catching some ducks.
Yeah, looks like these ducks here, they're a big problem. We need to get rid of them. Just throw them in my truck.
These are abandoned ducks that have been domesticated, and they are in a native environment. Yeah. I really want to make friends with the local county, animal
control dude.
Yeah. And stuff like that, because he just, I'll take free ducks home. I've learned my lesson again. Is I made a sale with goats, and I included the value of pigs in it. They're not worth it, and you know what I mean.
The pigs aren't worth it.
I got still have 3 potbelly pigs I'm trying to get rid of, and nobody wants. I put up some. I had 8 people wanting, baby pigs. I ended up getting some and nothing. I've almost debated on taking them to the farm and throwing them out, see what happens. I'll castrate them first. Of course.
Why can't you just eat them?
They're about the size of my shoe.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I could eat them. I could. Yeah, true. Very true. I could skin them like a squirrel.
Donate them to a high school. They can do whatever dissection class, whatever.
I feel like the school has to go through certain
Yeah, they
sources for
do.
that.
They're always like,
I just
full
show up.
of
I just show up
formaldehyde
with
and
four dead
gross.
pigs in the back of my truck. Say, hey, kid, you want a pig? Um,
It's
Oh, I
okay. I
got
work
so
for
many
the city.
I got so many sound bites out of this episode. It's great. Emu is a cow chicken.
they
I
basically
be
are. They're like that's what Fuddruckers is. That's their whole thing is ostrich
What?
burgers.
What?
no
I did not
way.
know that.
Y'all don't? Yeah, do you know what Fuddruckers is?
Yeah,
I'm
you
aware
have.
what Fuddruckers is.
Yeah, go to
Yeah,
Fuddruckers and get an ostrich burger.
didn't
They're
know they had that on their
fantastic.
menu. I haven't been to Fuddruckers in 25
They
years.
closed down all the Fuddruckers near us. That was the best burger place I've ever been to.
Hmm.
I miss my ostrich burgers on a Sunday after church. I do. They're fantastic.
Well, you probably had to eat there more than once a week for them to stick around. So that's probably what happened there.
Yeah.
What
The
about you,
IBC
Scott?
King.
Plans?
Oh, most of my spring has been working with trees, and I significantly increased my tree work. And then
You inspire me to want to just get into trees and just crush it. I feel like next year when the state forestries open up for purchase, I'm gonna buy 100 of each native tree and just go
yeah, you
for
got to
it.
be careful because they have the disclaimer that you shouldn't sell them. So, what I that's the face. But yeah, yeah. So the
If the state forestry department of Pennsylvania wants to come at me in Georgia for selling trees for interstate commerce or whatever, that come on. I mean,
yeah. So what I did was I keep them and grow them on my land till the fall, and then they're my trees. I
well, yeah,
adapted them to my land.
exactly.
But
And you
I
would want
went
to grow them
and
out for a couple
I went
years
and bought
anyway.
I went and bought hazelnuts from Iowa, from the Iowa Conservation, right? And they were $1. So I'm thinking they're going to be dinky like this. They were so huge that they is like the roots were wide as a 30-gallon trash can.
Holy crap. What did you
And they
do with
were
them?
and they're like 4 feet long. And I'm like, holy crap.
Did
And
you?
for $1 each. So
Wow.
then
Dang.
I planted a bunch of them, and then the small ones I put in 5-gallon buckets, and then I sold some of them. But yeah, I was just like, these are too big for me to ship. They're too big for me to get in a pot, and I put them all in a 30-gallon trash can with a bunch of dirt, and then little by little took them out and
Do you
sold them,
buy
gave
your
them.
pots wholesale?
No. And then yeah, that's the big thing that I learned this year was I was buying them from Home Depot, or I was using my 2-gallon pots or 2-gallon buckets, right? So I drill holes in the 2-gallon buckets. But I got hooked up with Greenhouse Warehouse, that's it. And so I can get the pots for $1. So I got
Okay.
65
Yeah,
pots for $65. But I don't,
that's pretty much that's a good price. I was gonna say
yeah.
I've got a couple, I ended up buying a pallet of material from a farm supply store in Pennsylvania
Hmm.
because I couldn't get cocoa coir or horticultural peat perlite
Yep.
at such a good price. So it was even cheaper with a $400 shipping fee. And it's like, how is this possible? Like, all this stuff comes from China.
Well,
How
that's
Right.
can
right. It
I
was on a
how
pallet.
can I not? They had to deliver it on a semi. But it was, I got ordered about 9 yards of material on a pallet.
Hmm.
So the cocoa core, they're 10-pound bricks. I got 16 10-pound bricks, and that will expand into I think 2.7 cubic yards. And then
Yep.
the horticultural bags of perlite come in for about 4 cubic yards. Add mini pine nuggets to it. You have a bare bones complete nursery mix, and it's pretty much a 30% split of each. You can add a bag of black cow per, whatever that for nutrients, or if you use a slow release.
Right.
Yeah,
That 10-10-10 mixture you recommended. I've been using that, and that's been really
Um,
good.
What is it?
Little pelleted
I'm
10 stuff.
Osmocote. Osmocote.
I don't know if that's what it's called, but something similar to that. And
Is it
then
like a slow release fertilizer in balls?
yeah, it looks like little pellets.
Yeah, okay. Are they yellow?
They're different colors. Anyway, but that yeah, so I got some of that, and that really, like, especially on the grafted apples. So I grafted some apples, and they usually burn out right about now, and all of a sudden they've been going like gangbusters. Um,
Nice.
I
Yeah.
sold I've been selling more stuff on Facebook Marketplace.
Mhm.
So I sold $72 worth of elderberry this evening. So, just go with the
Have you
beat
gone
over at the Walmart.
into getting different varieties of elderberry? Like
Sure.
there's a neon elderberry at a store. It's grown locally, but it's a
Yep.
neon yellow leaf color
Oh,
elderberry.
I'd like to see that.
I'm
I'd like
like,
to see that. So I'm branching
I'll go
out
tomorrow.
into black lace elderberry.
Okay.
And so they have black leaves. They also have like greenish black leaves, but they're thin and almost Japanese looking.
Okay.
Yeah, so
And
they're
they still
cool.
produce fruit.
Yeah, and then they
I'm gonna have
have
to get some of those from you.
and
That
then they
sounds
have
awesome.
weirdo pink flowers instead of having the white flowers. So they're really,
I'm
really
gonna have to
cool.
get just for a landscaping purpose. I'm gonna have to get that. I want
Yeah.
My goal is by the time I'm 60, I want to have a botanical garden on the
Yep.
farm.
Yep.
That's just,
That's my goal, and I ain't got that long until I'm 60. So,
but it's like like with these hosses, you know, the goal for these hosses, the hustle for these hosses is I got them for $4 a piece.
uh-huh.
They were marked for $25 a piece. I got them home. I doubled the size of their pot, gave them slow release fertilizer, and got them going. And they look beautiful. They look better than they did when the store got them.
Yeah, so the
So
thing is you got to do is you've got to get stuff that maybe some other people don't have, right? So you've got something there you can tell the story about,
mhm,
and then they're not going to argue with you on price because they're not going to say, "Hey,
yeah,
I can go down to Home Depot and get this elderberry." Nobody has black lace elderberry, so you're going
yeah.
to get a premium price for it, right?
That's like I'm
Another
getting
thing, go ahead.
comfrey seeds, like you, like
Yeah.
to you sell comfrey to somebody. What do you even use comfrey for? And you give them whatever the list you
Hmm.
use comfrey for, because there's a lot of people going for that permaculture perennial mindset.
Yep. Yep.
And if you because when you get to that, you can put a dollar sign on it because it's more intensive, it's more labor, it's more time because it's a perennial crop. I'm
Yep.
gonna start doing asparagus from seed, starting like 100, and this is just for me, starting like 120 crowns of asparagus a year, just for myself. Um,
Horseradish. They don't. No place around here sells horseradish.
yeah, there's a farm in Montana that I've debated on buying horseradish from. Rhubarb. Apparently,
Yeah,
rhubarb
rhubarb's
is a
super hot.
perennial thing.
Yep, it
It's
is.
I'm like, and so there's all these things. I'm like, okay, all you got to do is rhizome farm these things. So get a
Hmm.
ditch witch, dig a trench, fill it in full of compost, mound the clay back on top, mulch the top, so you have these nice Hugo culture style mounds, but they're just solid dirt. Plant them
Yep.
down, and that will grow incredible, just
Well, and then the comfrey,
incredible.
you can dig the comfrey up. You can dig a whole crown up, and there's still enough left down in the ground where it's going to come back.
Hmm.
So you
Yeah,
could take. You seen those crowns? Oh, did you get the comfrey I sent you? It's on its way.
I have not.
Okay, so it's got some huge crown in there. I mean, the crown's like this, as big as my head.
Is that Russian comfrey?
It's not. Yeah, it's bocking. It's the not. Um, it's the sterile kind.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
So
because
I have
everybody's worried about comfrey like going crazy and pollinating all over the place.
okay. Well,
And
I'll make sure to keep yours separate because mine I've got comfrey seeds that I've started.
yep.
And I accidentally threw them into some recycled dirt that I repotted stuff up in. I've got comfrey coming up in 4 or 5 different
Well,
buckets.
you would have that even with the bocking kind. I mean, basically any little sliver of the thing, it comes back.
Well, true, but these are just seeds.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, and then if you tell the story about it, then it's going to set you apart. So I mean, if I say on the website, "Hey, I got elderberry and hazelnut," somebody is going to argue with me that they can get hazelnut over there in Pennsylvania for cheaper and they don't have to pay all my shipping. Okay, great. That's nice. But my story is that it's impossible to get hazelnut to grow here unless you adapt it to the Midwest. So mine's adapted to the Midwest, and everybody argues about how big the Midwest is. So therefore, I
It's the
mean,
whole country.
Ohio thinks they're the
yeah,
Midwest. I mean, some people in Pennsylvania think they're the Midwest.
yeah.
So.
That's like I can't push hostas and daylilies and canna lilies because all of those things are completely edible from the leaves and flowers and tubers.
Yeah.
So if I can get, along with the comfrey and the, sunchokes and all these other perennial um semi-native crops, I'm
Hmm.
gonna get into some of the perennial natives as well. It's gonna be a very niche. My niche is gonna be everything the box store will never have,
Yep.
essentially.
And that's the niche.
So
That's the niche you
and
want to have.
and
Niche, whatever you want to call it.
it's like, the box store is never going to carry, this or this, or with the hostas the goal is to June 1st, once the wedding's over, we're back from the honeymoon. I'm going to make a Facebook post and saying these hostas are available for this price. We're going to keep, I think, about 3 of each variety we have. We have 24 different varieties, and we're going to plan them, and we're going to get into basically rhizome farming. And that's with everything I get. We're going to do bulb farming, and just there's no reason not to.
So I think I accidentally went crazy and I bought like 300 uh, pecan seeds from the state. And then so
That's
I
how you
planted them
do it,
all
though.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like put them in buckets. I put them, you're supposed to put 2 in each one. And I mean, but I sold every single pecan I had last year. So, I'm
Dang.
like, hey,
See, that's where you're doing stuff like that, and I'm like, man, I need to be doing stuff like that. I gotta step up my game to actually start selling things because I'm essentially pitter pattering here and there.
no, you got
Um,
your mums. You went crazy on mums last year.
I did, and I sold most of them, but it really put in getting a job put into perspective how much I was actually making on my side hustle. Last year, I sold about $2,000 in plants from the school, and it didn't because that's all I was living on was what I was hustling off of. I didn't have a job. I hadn't had a job for like a year and a half until I started working again. I'm like, man, an hourly wage sucks because I'm hired in at 16 an hour, but I'm making 13. Um,
But
Hmm.
then
so
you were like taking all the discards
yeah, and then that's pretty much where
and
a
the
lot of this came
cuttings.
from, and cuttings and all that, and they gave me the trees I took the cuttings from.
Mhm.
So you know,
So I did this with elderberry. The elderberry is like growing through the fence,
yeah,
the stuff that's already here. So I went and I dug up the runners, the sprouts, stuck them in a pot. I took the I took the cuttings, stuck them in water, and then stuck them in a pot. And I've got like I think I have 50 some elderberry in pots ready to go.
well, that's fantastic.
What
Um,
was your mix for soil? You got 30 30 30 perlite,
so it's
coconut core.
basically a
What
third
was the other
perlite,
thing?
coconut core, and mini pine nuggets. You can
Mini
either
pine
yes.
nuggets?
It's basically
I've
just
never even heard of that.
pine bark nuggets that have been shredded into mini chunks.
Oh, okay.
Um, it's neutral. Pine when pine starts breaking down, people's like, oh, it'll change your pH. It doesn't. It
Yeah.
composts down. Pine does not make anyway.
Because I go
Um,
over and I get the compost by the truckload, but
yeah,
it's municipal compost and it's been hit or miss on residual
Hmm.
herbicide, especially the
yeah,
ones from Kansas City. So I could tell when the nursery got got their compost from Kansas City Municipal Source
Mhm.
because, where they're spraying trees and stuff, then that's ended up in the compost.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm weary. Like the city uses the stuff I get from them, and it's basically this pile of compost that has been smoking for the last 4 years. And it's
Hmm.
as big as a house. And it's black, it's rich, but they put it around every single tree they plant. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's safe to use around non-edible plants, which is what I'm gonna do because I get it for free. Like
Yeah,
this
these
stuff
folks around
is,
here, they do something and they speed it up.
yeah, it's premium. It is premium compost, but there's shredded boots in it. There's glass in it,
Yeah.
and not a lot. Not I found a whole shoe. It's not a ton of stuff, but it's enough trash, that I would
Yeah.
not grow vegetables in it, but I'd put it around the flowers.
Yeah, we've
Oh,
got
man,
like
that's
twist
funny.
ties, because somebody took their leaf waste over to the place in a
Yep.
bag with twist ties. There's little pieces of microplastic in it.
But
There's,
is
all kinds of stuff.
microplastic honestly, realistically, going to get up into the root of the plant
No,
and then go from the leaf of the plant into the fruit of the plant? And
no.
then I don't buy it. I feel like that is just another scare tactic
Yeah, I just
from
don't
a
like having
different
plastic in my
perspective.
soil. I
Oh,
mean,
I wouldn't want it in
I got
there.
enough plastic in my soil just from using cardboard.
Yeah,
Because, I took the tape off as much as I can, but I still find plastic that,
but
comes
it's
You know
up
what sucks
4
is when
years
you use
later.
the wrong type of plastic for greenhouse plastic and it gets brittle and shatters like glass. That happened
yeah
to
that
me.
Really?
because you'll never
Oh
get that
yeah.
out of anything.
I thought about vacuuming it and I'm like, no. This is
At,
just gonna be here now.
at that point, it's not worth, and it sucks because there's plastic in everything,
Mhm.
And I would like, but unless you are 100% making the soil yourself, you can't always like I get soil for my raised beds in bulk, by the scoop. Like I've put 40 yards of dirt in those things. It doesn't look like there's plastic in there, but those boards, some of that wood chip they use is probably mulch pressure treated boards. That
Mhm.
there's some things in there that are probably a little sketchy, but I am not going to doubt the healthy microbiome and mushroom and fungus in the soil, because I feel like when you discredit the soil, when you be
Yeah.
like it can't handle it, when
I
we
still
know,
have the I still have the mushroom compost blooming in the
Mhm.
garage from
Yeah,
February. I've eaten
like
mushrooms off of there like 5 times.
All right,
that's
what do you guys want to
awesome.
wrap up with? Because I'm gonna go in about 5 minutes. I'm gonna
Oh,
get back to
sorry.
work
Okay.
building raised beds.
Okay.
Whatever y'all want to.
Well, very good. So yeah, um, that's pretty much all I had. But
Yeah,
shameless plug.
sorry to kill the conversation. I was just
Yeah,
like looking at the time. I'm like, man, I'm just
No,
itching to
no.
get back out there
Matt
and
Matt feels
finish
left
up.
out because we're talking about trees and stuff. But
No, I got 35 apricot trees starting in my mini little greenhouse there.
see,
that's
y'all, it's
awesome.
just the fire to get into trees is, you know, it's dangerous because you get all this stuff. We have all these hostas, but it's always you're putting your money into something. There, you have at that point you have no cash flow until you start selling, and
Yep.
that's what I'm gonna probably get stuck on. Is
Yeah, it makes them for interesting taxes because a lot of my charges for this year when I did my taxes were last year. So I bought all my trees last year. So it's like, how do I do this? You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
But so anyway, well, yeah, shameless plug. Matt likes the permaculture apprentice permaculture course by William Horvath, and you can
Yeah.
check out the link in the show notes. Thank you guys for being on.
absolutely.
Yeah. You're welcome, Scott. Thanks for having us.
You
Good
bet.
catching up.